All right, Alexander, we got to talk about a story that has gone viral. It's captured the attention of the entire world, and it's coming out of Australia. And I got a lot of emails on the video that shows what's going on with this pregnant mother as well, who was dragged out of her house outside of Melbourne. And the video that I got was actually from Sky News Australia, and it was a report from Sky News host Alan Jones, who shows the video, and I'll put a link for the video as to what happened. And Alexander, you can also explain it as well. Jones, the news host for Sky, actually says that Daniel Andrews has to go. He has to go. The premier of Victoria. He is just going full authoritarian, it seems. After watching the video, I was taken aback. Let me read you a tweet, and let me read you a title from Zero Hedge. And the tweet is from Alan Ewert's Blue Cat, who has a Union Jack flag. And he says, defenseless pregnant woman gets cuffed and arrested by fascist thugs in her home in Melbourne, Australia. Her crime, a Facebook post about the protests. How much more of this are we going to take? ? And he has a 2-minute excerpt from the arrest that actually took place. I'll put the post as well as to what was posted on Facebook, which led to this arrest. The title from Zero Hedge Alexander reads like this: pregnant Australian mother arrested in her home over Facebook lockdown protest post. If another tweet from The Real Fly, I'm stunned at this story. Australian police arrest woman for anti-CV lockdown Facebook post. Seize all computers. They seized everything. They seized computers. They seized documents. This is madness. It's absolute madness. Anyway, Alexander, what do you make of what's going on? Certainly, these are human rights violations. I can't.
Absolutely. No, they are. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I'm not going to. I don't know the specific law in Australia, but let's take the European Court of the European Convention for Human Rights, which, by the way, can I just say, has nothing to do with the European Union. It actually predates it. It was created about 10 years before in response to things that had happened in Europe in the 1930s and 1940s, and it's often seen as providing the gold standard, if you like, of what human rights are. Article 10 of the European Convention for Human Rights makes it very clear that people have a right to express and communicate ideas and information. That's a right of freedom of speech, in other words. And there is case law which says that they're entitled to do that, even if that information and those opinions are offensive to some people. Now, what this lady did was that she simply expressed certain views about lockdowns, about CVs, about what's going on, the CV situation in her home state, about the pandemic. It falls, as far as I'm concerned, fully and entirely and completely within the general concept of freedom of speech. So I don't think there's any conceivable crime here. It seems to me there is a huge violation of the right of free speech. And I think any regulation and any law that says otherwise is clearly oppressive and obviously wrong. But that's the free speech point. There is another point, which is this arrest. Now, this arrest is absolutely unbelievable and outrageous. First of all, why was she arrested at all? I haven't understood this. Why wasn't she, a message or a letter sent to her by the authorities saying, we've come across this. You've possibly committed a criminal offence. I don't know what that offence is, by the way. I can't see one myself, but they want to argue it, and come along. We're going to set up a hearing. you've got to report to the police, or you can report to a trial, or something of that kind. I mean, why send police in this fashion, handcuffing this pregnant woman, removing her property in this fashion? I mean, it seems completely wild and disproportionate to an extreme degree. It would also, by the way, be completely disproportionate, entirely wrong, if she had been summoned, which I'm not sure whether she had been or hadn't been. She had been summoned and hadn't attended a summon. You can't just barge into a person's house and arrest them like that. By any conceivable stretch, this is disproportionate, oppressive, and wrong behavior. Clearly violating human rights, violates human rights. Article 10, freedom of speech. Article 8, I'm talking about the European Convention of Human Rights, right to a private life and dignity and security of the person. So I think that it's disproportionate, human rights violations, clearly wrong. I understand she's now been threatened with something like 15-year sentence. I mean, crazy stuff. And I hope and believe that the authorities, the judiciary in Australia, will throw this thing out. And I hope that it isn't just a case that the person, the government that has implemented this policy will fall and be removed from office. But I think this lady should be paid very, very substantial compensation for the injury that was done to her. And I very, very much hope that her child, because she's pregnant, is not affected by this, because of course that one can easily imagine that in this kind of extraordinary situation it might be. And if it is, then frankly there should be more compensation and perhaps further punishments, including criminal ones.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen videos coming out of Melbourne over the last couple of weeks, and I mean, it seems to me, I mean, I can't judge. I'm not there on the ground. Maybe our viewers in Australia can chime in the comments and let us know what's going on if you're on the ground in Melbourne and in the area of Victoria. But I mean, the cops have just gone full authoritarian. I mean, really rough stuff. But yeah.
I just want to make a quick point here, which is an essential point to understand. And that is that even if, there are situations where it's legal to impose lockdowns and there are provisions for this, but always it must be done in a proportionate way. That is the law. Everywhere. That is essential human rights law. Police can't simply go, bananas, arrest people for trivial offences.
Well, for not wearing a mask, they're holding people down.
I know. I'm holding down, breaking into houses, wielding handcuffs. I mean, this is completely disproportionate and absolutely inappropriate behavior. It's not inappropriate. Actually, I take that back. Not inappropriate behavior. It is unlawful behavior. It is lawless behavior. It is the police who are acting unlawfully if they behave in a disproportionate way, and it is the authorities who are acting unlawfully if they support the police in doing so.
Well, it's the police are getting their orders higher up. In this case, in Australia's case, they're getting their orders from Andrews, which is why he's deeply at least I'm getting the impression.
Yeah.
And I think I'm right. This guy is deeply, deeply unpopular.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be worrying if he wasn't, to be frankly. I don't know the opinion polling, but I mean, again, this is completely authoritarian behavior. It is not consistent. And again, I'm using words that are, part of human rights law. It is not consistent with a democratic society.
All right. Here is what Alan Jones of Sky News Australia said. And I'm going to quote his statement from the video, which once again, I will put that video in the description box. So everyone that's viewing this video can take a look at his reporting. He says, the only person guilty of incitement is the Premier of Victoria. Mr. Jones said, the Victorian woman was arrested in front of her children on charges of incitement after allegedly organizing an anti-lockdown protest. This woman is a victim of the inexcusable and unlimited powers given to the Victorian police. The verbal and intimidatory behavior towards a pregnant mother is a form of violence the like of which no Australian will tolerate. Go, Daniel Andrews, and go tonight before more damage is done. Alexander, in the video, the couple was very polite. They said they'll take the post down. They said they won't do it again. They told the police, come on. I think that was the husband or the boyfriend. By the way, her name is Zoe Bueller, and she's 28 years old. It was her boyfriend, actually, that said, come on. He was saying, come on, mate, just, take it easy on us. We'll take everything down, and we won't put any more posts up. I mean, they were really, really friendly. And from this arrest, ABC News Australia is reporting that they broke her. They broke Bueller, and she's scared to death. And now she's saying, mea culpa. It was all my fault. And the title of their post reads like this. This is their article as to what happened afterwards with Miss Bueller. Sorry for my bimbo moment. Woman apologizes after being arrested live on Facebook over coronavirus lockdown post. I need to point out, many viewers in Australia, Alexander, have told me that ABC News in Australia is very pro-Andrews, as well as a couple of other mainstream media outlets. Big surprise there. Big surprise. So they broke her.
Can I just say something? I mean, I don't think this is incitement. I think this argument that it's incitement is completely and wholly wrong, because this situation that we are in is an extraordinary one. I think it is a valid and proper expression of opinion. And can I just remind our viewers that protesting to and organising protests is a democratic right. No, I mean, I think this is a point that needs to be understood. I mean, she was acting, in my opinion, at all times in a wholly lawful way. So when I said before that I don't understand what crime she is accused of, I certainly don't see incitement here. This is my own personal view.
A pre-crime. It's a pre-crime.
Well, it's a pre-crime. I mean, it's not even. I don't think it's
a post.
I don't think it's a crime at all, frankly. I think this is just very oppressive, authoritarian behaviour by a premier and a local government, a state government that is completely off, gone completely off the tracks. I mean, they've gone completely berserk with all of this. They're drunk with the power that they have, and they think that the way to enforce these rules is by taking this utterly oppressive approach towards everyone. I mean, it's a bizarre thing. It is. I come back to it. It's lawless. It is lawless. And if this poor woman has been intimidated into confessions, well, can I just say again, that's not a sign that she did anything wrong. It's a sign of how disturbing the whole situation has become. I mean, and the fact that they're relying in order to excuse themselves on these confessions is extraordinary.
The reason I say pre-crime, not that I'm saying that that she committed a crime, but I don't know if you've seen the movie Minority Report or read the book. In Minority Report, that Tom Cruise's character would go around and he would get like premonitions from these oracles, referencing you, Alexander, these oracles that would see a crime before it happened.
Yeah.
So, him and his team would go and they would arrest the people before the crime happened. And that's why I say the word pre-crime. This is the same exact situation. She puts a post on Facebook and says, let's assemble and protest the mask or whatever. And the authorities get that post and they go to her home.
Yes.
And they take all her computers, all her documents, and they arrest her. They're preventing the protest before she even has a chance to do it. How do they know it wasn't going to be a peaceful protest? How do they know they weren't going to, give people food and cookies and sing songs and just, you know, have a really nice day about it. How do they not know all these things? Instead, they arrest her, they stop the whole thing, put her in prison, and they send the message out to everybody. Don't you dare go against the Andrews authority.
Well, I mean, the presumption should always be that it's going to be a peaceful protest. And I come back to what I'm saying. Protest is a democratic right. So, yes, there may be a lockdown and all that, but people, you know, there is always, as I said, a balancing exercise. When people are exercising their human right, which is a human right to protest against something that they feel is wrong, then the law is there to protect them doing it, even in conditions of lockdown. Now, of course, the authorities can come along in that kind of situation. This is how it should work. And they say, look, you know, we understand you want to protest. We think that, you know, there have to be terms agreed about how it is to be done. And there might be some kind of negotiation or discussion or whatever. But, you know, this doesn't seem to have, well, this clearly didn't happen here. This is obviously not what was done. And it's disproportionate. And when I talk about the proportionality and disproportionality, it may sound very, you know, very pale language, but lawyers like to use very pale language. When something is disproportionate, when the authorities behave in a disproportionate way, they are behaving unlawfully. And if the consequences of that unlawful behavior is oppressive, then that is a very serious matter indeed. So that's what I think about this. And when you say a pre-crime, I mean, I come back to what I'm saying. I don't see what the crime is, given that protest is legal.
That's the whole premise of the movie. Is yes, it's the premise is a future where the authorities try to prevent what they think may be a crime, even though, you know, well, they're not certain. No one's saying she was going to commit a crime.
Well,
the premise of the movie is saying we're going to get these people out off the streets because we think a crime may occur. That's the premise of the movie. That's what we're seeing play out in Melbourne.
I see that. I mean, to me, frankly, it's inventing a crime. I mean, it's inventing a crime of which there is no evidence. I mean, any crime requires evidence. You know, there has to be something that shows that it is a crime. I mean, the concept of a pre-crime, let me put it like this, does not exist in law, certainly not in any legal system.
Not yet.
That I reckon.
Not
Well, indeed. And I would add, by the way, the same is true of thought crimes, you know, this Orwellian idea. But again, I mean, you know, in 1984, the world of 1984, at least in the novel, thought crimes were real. And it seems to me that in some places, some people would like to see us.
Do you ever think you would get canceled out of culture for saying a word that the powers that be don't agree with?
No. And of course, I mean, the control of language is another thing that Orwell is very interested in, and which is part of 1984. So, you know, but regardless of this, I mean, coming back to this particular episode, it's not this lady who should be apologizing. It's the state government, the premier, and the police. And in any kind of legal system that I would understand, there ought to be a proper investigation and an apology and an offer of compensation and a recognition that it is the authorities who have acted in a lawless way. Now, it's not going to happen. Maybe it's not going to happen. But in that case, I think the people of Australia, the people of the state of Victoria, need to think very hard about how they're going to vote and what they're going to do, because it seems that the government that they have is not behaving democratically anymore and lawfully anymore.
It's, you know, 1984 and a movie like Minority Report. It's a great movie. Go see it. I mean, it's just
I will. After this program.
It's all coming true. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. What does it tell you, real quick before we wrap up? What does it tell you that they're watching everyone's posts on social media so carefully?
Well, I mean, we are getting into a more totalitarian kind of mindset now. I mean, this is the other thing. In a democratic society, you shouldn't be, out grubbing around amongst people's social media posts for things that are not even crimes, which you think might eventually come up, with some sort of public audit. I mean, this is so completely, sorry to use the word again, disproportionate, so wildly off track that, it is incredibly profoundly worrying, both that the people in authority are doing that. And I should add, by the way, that they have the means to do it. Once upon a time, they didn't. Now, apparently, they do.
It makes you scared to post stuff.
Oh, of course. Well, which is no doubt.
The police could knock on your door.
Well, this is clearly the intention, isn't it? I mean, this is the point. I mean, I come back to what I said. If this group of people had gone out and protested, and had done things over the course of that protest which broke the law, there are ways you can do that. You can do that in an orderly way. You don't need to send in the riot police and round them all up and beat them up or anything of that kind. You can summons them to court. You can do all kinds of things in an orderly, lawful, legal way. What you should absolutely not do in any democratic or law-based system is anticipate a crime before it's committed. I mean, that's just nuts. I mean, there are profound implications about something like that. And as you correctly say, it seems that these were two completely law-abiding people, and they were profoundly shocked by what happened and frightened into apologies, which they should never have given.
All right, we'll end it there, and we'll end it on Alan Jones's quote: "Go, Daniel Andrews, and go tonight before more damage is done."
All right, he's not going to go though, is he? He's not going to follow that advice. No. I mean, I think people in Australia.
What do you make of? Say that again.
Yeah, people in Victoria should listen to that. That's I think
very, very quickly before I tell people to subscribe, click that red button to subscribe to the channel, and please donate to us on PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribe Star so we can continue to broadcast these types of stories to you. Alexander, what do you make of the fact that it's Sky News going so hard against, I guess, what is an establishment globalist, elitist candidate, premier like Andrews, Sky News Australia? That's Murdoch.
Well, it is Murdoch, like Fox News, remember, in the United States, which is the one dissident TV channel, mainstream TV channel left in America, is also Murdoch. So, I mean, clearly, by the way, Australia has a tremendous tradition in its media, and it's a very freedom-loving and very democratic society, more so in some ways, because more so than Britain is, because it bit like the United States, it's a new country. People went there, they wanted to create a free and democratic country, so it's got that tradition. So it doesn't completely surprise me that there are voices in the media that talk like that. And Australians, by the way, are famous in Britain, especially for their forthright way of expressing themselves, which is very refreshing to many British people. So, I'm not entirely surprised about it. Don't see it happening in Britain, by the way.
All right. Murdoch also has Sky in Britain as well.
Yes, I know, but it's a much more establishment mainstream channel than it seems to be in Australia, and certainly than Fox is in the US.
All right, go to the Durant shop, guys. Pick up some magic mugs, some T-shirts, polo shirts, all kinds of great stuff. This is Greece,
and this here, by the way, is Australia.
Right. I've got Ireland for an enamel mug.
Right here. An enamel mug. I've got the UK. There you go, and I've got Greece too somewhere. Here we go. This is Greece. It's one of our smaller mugs. As our viewers will see, we've got both bigger mugs now and smaller mugs. but they're still the best mugs. Well, they are the best mugs in the world. Always were, always will be, because they are exceptional mugs. And we've also got them in enameled versions now, like these, which you can take with you out on the outdoors. You can take, when you're hiking or camping or walking in the forest, as I do. They're perfect for that sort of thing, and they're amazing, and they're wonderful, and they're light, and they're strong, and they've got all these many flags of many countries. And if you don't find your own country's flag, here's the United States, then wait a little. Alex will no doubt produce a mug with your country's flag before long, and if it's still not there after a while, well, just drop us a line. And he's also died, by the way, in preparing to do that with our shirts. We got a wonderful new range of shirts with country national flags there, and some are going to be embroidered too, so keep an eye out for those. People, our viewers who bought our shirts, like our viewers who bought our mugs, think in the world of them. They think they're amazing, and they are. And of course, we've also now got lots of hats. We've got truckers' hats and baseball caps and embroidered hats too, and which Alex is also working on and expanding all the time. And we have an ever expanding gallery of ebooks. So we've got amazing things in our shop. You support our channel, our small channel, which provides this brilliant analysis that we provide you with here, by going to our shop. And at the same time, you are the owner of these great things. So Alex will quickly remind you how to do that, and over to him.
All right, just go to the duranshop.com. You'll find a link in the description box down below. And very, very quickly, a quick shout out, Alexander, to Patriotic Legacy. I know you have the Patriot Beacon 3 there. I want to do a quick shout out to them because they have a new contest where you can win a purple Patriot Legacy, a purple color of the Beacon 3, as well as a magic mug with the USA flag on it. Go to the Patriotic Legacy website. Use the code Duran20 when you make a purchase. All right. Michigan also agrees. Go to the Patriotic Legacy website. Use the code Duran20 at checkout. You'll get 20% off, and you'll automatically be entered to win a Patriot Beacon 3 purple. And a magic mug with the USA flag.
The USA
it is the Swiss Army knife of flashlights. Alexander, your dog is ready to go for a walk.
I'll tell you what, he's seen me with the Patriot Beacon. And of course, I always take it with me when I go for a walk in the dark. And that's what he thinks. It's nighttime now. That's what he thinks I'm going to do. And of course, when I need to call him, I've got an alarm. But if I do it, he will come probably rushing again. So that's why he's so excited when he sees me with my Patriot Beacon, because I never go on a walk in the dark without it. It's the best flashlight in the world. You can see what a wonderful beam it has. You can dim it if you're in close place. You can have it flashing like that. If you get lost, there's a compass in the handle. It's solar powered, so it never fades on you. And it's incredibly rugged, and it's prodigiously strong, and my dog loves it, and it's made in the United States, and it ships all over the world. Patriot Beacon 3.
It's time to go. It's time to take that Patriot Beacon 3 and go out for a walk with your dog, Alexander. All right, everybody, take care.